Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ezekiel, the 24th chapter, which is pretty much dealing with a parable that the Lord put forth for Ezekiel to tell, the Israelites, the captives there with him, concerning Jerusalem. Okay, and this time it was the parable of the boiling pot, as you can see in the top part on here. Okay, so let's get into it. This is Ezekiel chapter 24, verse 1. Again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, the word of the Lord Yahweh came on to me, saying, Son of man, write thee the name of the day, even of this same day. The king of Babylon set himself against Jerusalem this same day. Now, when you actually look at the time, right, when you say, let's look up when was Ezekiel exiled. They give us the date right around 597 BC, right? So it says in 597, following a rebellion against Babylon, Ezekiel was among the large group of Judeans taken into captivity by the Babylonians. He appears to have spent the rest of his life in Mesopotamia. Now, when you look up, when was Jerusalem besieged by Babylon? They give you right around 587, which they say right around here, circa meaning approximately, okay, between the time of 589 to 587 BC, right around that time. Okay, which puts us, if we go from when Ezekiel was exiled to right about this time period of like 589, 587, 588, that's within this range. So assuming that Ezekiel is counting when he says in the 9th year from the captivity, right, this would line up right around the time that Nebuchadnezzar had basically sent his troops, to basically go and besiege Babylon around that time period of 589, 588, 587 BC. Okay, so it says here, I'll read it again, the first verse. Again, in the 9th year, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month. So that's right around getting to the 10th year. Okay, the word of the Lord Yahweh came on to me, saying, Son of man, write thee the name of the day, even of this same day. The king of Babylon set himself against Jerusalem this same day. And utter a parable unto the rebellious house, which is talking about the Israelites, at least those that were there with him. And say unto them, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, set on a pot, set it on, and also pour water into it. Gather the pieces thereof into it, even every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder, fill it with the choice bones. Basically, the Lord is, in this parable, the Lord is saying, get a pot, okay, and set it on fire. So you would have like the coals, you have the wood under to start the fire, and then you put the pot on top. And he's saying here, gather the pieces thereof into it. The pieces meaning of meat, right? And when you put the meat in the pot, you chop it up. So you have like the shoulder, you have the thigh, and so on and so forth, right? So it says here, put them all in there, okay? Even with the choice bones and all of that. It says here, take the choice of the flock and burn also the bones under it, and make it boil well. Meaning, what it means is that not necessarily take the bones and put it into the fire, but let them all burn or boil together in the pot, the bones, the meat, all of it. It says here, and make it boil well, and let them sieve the bones of it therein. Verse 6, wherefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is therein. and this is dealing with Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is being likened onto this pot. Okay, and you can conclude that the meat and the scum would represent the inhabitants in Jerusalem and their wickedness. So it says here, whose scum is therein, and whose scum is not going out of it. Now, when you look up the scum, it basically, if you look up the definition in here, it talks about like the corruption in it. Okay, but if you actually just look up scum when it comes to like cooking or food in general, right? Let's look up scum, cooking meat. What the hell? All right, there we go. So what is the scum when cooking meat? It says there is no appetizing way to say this, but that foam that is made of coagulated chicken proteins. It is known as scum. Not the most pleasant name. It is considered an impurity when in a stock and consists of coagulated proteins coming from any residual meat on the bones. Okay, so it made sense that there would be scum, considering that you would have the meat and the bones cooking up in that pot. Okay, like it says, what is that foam when you boil chicken? And you know, that's that scum. So what the Lord is saying here, right, it says, yeah, whose scum is not going out of it, bring it out. Well, actually, let me read this again, verse 6. Wherefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is therein, and whose scum is not going out of it. Because if you're cooking and there's impurities, you would scoop it off. You wouldn't just leave it in there. But the Lord is saying here, this corrupt city, this pot, has everything up in there. Bring it out piece by piece. Let no lot fall upon it. Meaning take out the meat, you know, the different pieces, right, piece by piece, without casting any lots for it. You can imagine, maybe you have a group somewhere, right, and you're cooking this meat. You got the pot, you cut up the different pieces. There's obviously going to be that piece that everybody wants. So you can imagine maybe like this is just a regular example or scenario where they might say, oh, I want the shoulder. No, I want the shoulder. So you may cast a lot for it. Okay, but here the Lord is saying, just take out the pieces in this parable, right? Take out the pieces without any lots being cast. Let no lot fall upon it. For her blood is in the midst of her. She set it upon the top of a rock. She poured it not upon the ground to cover it with dust. Meaning, this is to emphasize the wickedness, you know, the bloodshed, the murders that was going on. All right, meaning that it was so prevalent, okay, and they were so forward in it that they didn't even care enough to cover it up. Because when you actually read in the law, even when it came to the sacrifices, the scriptures tell you that you're supposed to actually pour out the blood into the earth and cover it up, because the life is in the blood. Okay, let's go real quick to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 34. And here's one example, right? As it says here, because when we're reading, it says that she set it upon a rock, because on the rock there's not like real dirt that you can, you know, cover this up in. But basically, when you read in Jeremiah, because on a rock is basically open, everybody can see it. So it says here also, right, Jeremiah 2 and 34, also in thy skirts is found the blood of the souls of the poor innocents. I have not found it by secret search, but upon all these. So meaning that you got all this blood on your hands to the point where I didn't have to do a secret search to find this. It was out there. Okay, as we just read here, they had it, the blood on the top of rocks and all of that. Okay, now let's go, like I mentioned about the law, let's go to Leviticus chapter 17, and we'll start at verse 13. So it says here, and whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten. He shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. So basically, when you kill the animal, you would pour out the blood into the earth, cover it up. Verse 14, for it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is in the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. Now, that's why, like, even when there's certain scriptures that talk about how the blood crieth unto the Lord. Okay, which is I mean, in a literal sense, it's the spirit, but that's just the wording of it. Okay, so it says here in verse 8, but the point in verse 7 is to emphasize the wickedness, more specifically, like the murders and the bloodshed that was going on without regard. Right, so the Lord said that it might cause fury to come up to take vengeance. So as a result of doing this, it infuriated the Lord to the point where now he's going to take vengeance. It says, I have set her blood upon the top of a rock, that it should not be covered. So just like you going around slaying, these people, the blood of the slain is found openly, not even covered up. Now, when I bring judgment upon you, I'm going to do the same. Your blood is going to be open and uncovered. Once again, not literal, because Jerusalem is not a person, right? It's not like one person. The Lord is going to come and cut your neck, and but it's in a parabolic form, meaning that the judgment and the destruction the Lord is going to bring is going to be open. Verse 9, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, woe to the bloody city. I will even make the pile for fire great, meaning he's going to intensify that judgment, because that's what the fire was going to do, right? You have the pot, you got the meat inside the pot, and then you got the fire under the pot that's cooking it, right? But if you have food on the stove or under fire, you can cook it, but that same fire can also it can mess up the food. So what the Lord is saying here is, I'm going to intensify that fire. And what is that going to lead to? Right? It says here, I will even make the pile for fire great. Guess what? When you have a fire and you want to keep that fire going, or you want it to burn hotter, you start to throw more logs and firewood in there, right? So that's what the Lord is saying. I'm going to make that pile of fire great, intensify that heat, which in this case would represent the judgment he was going to bring. It says, heap on wood, keep adding wood, kindle the fire, consume the flesh, and spice it well. And when you look into that word spice, meaning like mix it up. Okay, some other wordings basically have it as, cook it to the least compound in there. Because remember, now the fire is going to be extremely hot. So in this parable, the Lord says, heap on those wood, kindle that fire, let it burn to where it consumes the flesh, and let the bones be burnt or be burned. Okay, so pretty much the Lord is going to intensify that fire, and he's going to basically just burn everything in this pot, which is likened on to when the judgment he was going to bring against Jerusalem to destroy all the inhabitants within it. Obviously, in the actual manifestation, there was a great devastation, but not everybody died. But once again, this is why it's a parable. Right, verse 11, then set it empty upon the coals thereof, that the brass of it may be hot. So what happens, like, for example, the water is going to be drained, all the meat is going to be consumed and all of that. Now you got the pot that's upon the coals, right? It says that the brass of it may be hot, because you heated up the fire so much. It says, and may burn, and that the filthiness of it may be molten in it, because it was so hot, that the scum of it may be consumed. So the point being, the Lord is going to bring this judgment to basically do away with all these murders and this wickedness and abomination and lewdness that's going on in the land. Verse 12, she hath wearied herself with lies, and her great scum went not forth out of her. Her scum shall be in the fire. See, so that corruption, because that's what the scum represents, right? The iniquity and the corruption and the lewdness was still within them. They were still continuing in those abominable acts. We read in the chapter before and the chapters before that some examples of the things they were doing. So the Lord is saying here, it's going to be in the fire. In thy filthiness is lewdness, because I have purged thee, and thou wast not purged. Thou shalt not be purged from thy filthiness any more, till I have caused my fury to rest upon thee. Meaning, the Lord tried to cleanse you by sending prophets to warn you in X, Y, and Z, but you weren't purged. You didn't take heed. So the Lord said, you know what? Cool. I'm going to let you be. I'm going to leave you that way until I bring my judgment upon you. I, the Lord Yahweh, have spoken it. It shall come to pass, and I will do it. I will not go back, neither will I spare. Meaning the Lord is not going to change his mind concerning this matter. Neither will I repent. Right? Once again, to turn back. So the Lord is not going to change his mind. According to thy ways and according to thy doings shall they judge thee, saith the Lord Yahweh. So due to the level of wickedness and abominations that have been found within you, I'm gonna bring this judgment, and it's gonna be ruthless. These troops that are coming against you are not gonna have mercy upon you. Maybe if the things you did weren't as bad, I might have had them do some destruction, but maybe not completely. But with how bad the things you're doing are, they're gonna judge you accordingly. Meaning they're not gonna have mercy. That's the spirit that the Lord is gonna put upon them. Verse 15. Also the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, behold, I take away from thee the desire of thine eyes with a stroke. Yet neither shalt thou mourn nor weep, neither shall thy tears run down. Basically, the Lord told Ezekiel he was going to kill his wife. That's the desire of his eyes, his wife. He was going to send her back to the spirit world. And he was telling Ezekiel, you're not going to mourn, okay? And don't weep, don't let it be seen that you're crying, you got tears coming down and all. No. Because Ezekiel was going to be a sign. Remember, all these things that the Lord was telling Ezekiel, there were some things he told him to openly do. It was so that the captives, right, would see it, and he would be a sign unto them. Hey, whatever you see me doing, like with the things that I'm doing, this is it represents what's going to happen to either you or your sons and daughters and brothers and sisters in Jerusalem. And remember, the Lord said he would make Ezekiel dumb. All right, meaning that he was going to really only speak to them when it came to what the Lord had, like if the Lord had a message for him to go and necessarily like say. Verse 17, forbear to cry, make no mourning for the dead. Bind the tire of thine head upon thee, and put on thy shoes upon thy feet, and cover not thy lips, and eat not the bread of men. Meaning, the Lord said, I'm going to take away your wife, but do not mourn. Forbear to cry. When you look into those words, the word forbear meaning silent, and the word cry there meaning mourn. So you do not mourn openly, okay? Mourn quietly and in silence, okay? Like when you're grieving or whatever the case is. But you need to keep it together and make no mourning for the dead. So your wife is going to be dead, but you can't mourn for her. Bind the tire of thine head upon thee, which is like the head wrap, okay, i.e. like a form of a mitre, meaning don't uncover your head, because in the ancient world, a form of mourning was you would uncover your head, they would cast dust upon your head, you would put sackcloth on, right? You would walk barefoot. These were all forms of mourning, somebody that was in a state of mourning, but the Lord said no. This has to be a sign onto them. I'm using you as an example onto them, so you cannot mourn. Bind the tire of thine head upon thee, and put on thy shoes upon thy feet, and cover not thy lips, and eat not the bread of men. So once again, like covering the lips, not being barefoot, right? These were all signs, or actually being barefoot would be a sign of mourning, but the Lord is saying, don't do that. And eating the bread of men, meaning typically when somebody was mourning, you would have others like friends or whatever that would send food and stuff like that to try to console them to some degree. The Lord is saying here, don't eat of that. Just be regular. So the Lord told him this before it happened. Verse 18. So I spake unto the people in the morning, and at even my wife died. And I did in the morning as I was commanded. So he spoke to the people. Remember, the Lord told him to put forth that parable. And in the evening, like the Lord told him, his wife died. The next morning, like he said, he did what the Lord commanded him. He didn't mourn, kept that tire upon his head, kept his shoes upon his feet. And the people said unto me, wilt thou not tell us what these things are to us, that thou doest so? So what does this mean for us? Your wife died, you're not mourning, you put forth this parable about meat and the fire and all this. What is that? This isn't the first time that Ezekiel had to, behave in a certain manner so that they can ask. Remember, like not too long ago, he had to basically dig a hole in his wall and move out with his stuff in like upon his shoulder. Then they're like, what is that? What does that mean? What are you doing? So once again, they ask him here, what does this mean? Because every time they would ask him, he would say, this is to represent what's going to happen to you, or what's going to happen to X, Y, and Z. Verse 20, then I answered them, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, speak unto the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes, and that which your soul pitieth. And your sons and your daughters, whom ye have left, shall fall by the sword. So how is the Lord going to profane the sanctuary? Well, he was going to have it destroyed. Okay, and that meaning the temple, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes, because we gloried in that. Right? The Lord here said he's going to pollute that, he's going to take it down. And then concerning your sons and daughters, your relatives that are still in Jerusalem, they're going to die by the sword. They're going to be killed. They're going to be destroyed. And ye shall do as I have done. Ye shall not cover your lips, nor eat the bread of men. Meaning, you ain't going to mourn openly. Okay? You're not going to want to eat be consoled. And your tires shall be upon your heads, and your shoes upon your feet. Ye shall not mourn nor weep, but ye shall pine away for your iniquities, and mourn one toward another. So you're going to mourn in private, because you're going to think back on the wickedness that you did, that got you in this position, and the things that they were doing that led the Lord to doing this. Verse 24, thus Ezekiel is unto you a sign. According to all that he hath done shall ye do, and when this cometh, ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. So that's why the Lord had Ezekiel doing the things he did. So when they asked, he would tell them, well, the Lord said this is what he's going to do to you. Right? And you're also going to be in the state that I was in. Verse 25, also thou son of man, shall it not be in the day when I take from them their strength, the joy of their glory, the desire of their eyes, that whereupon they set their minds, their sons and their daughters. So in the day when I destroy the temple, I break down Jerusalem, and the things that they're thinking about, their sons and their daughters. Because remember, when they were taken captives, It wasn't like a family pack edition. You didn't think the Babylonians didn't come in there and say, "Oh, where's your son and your father and your brother and your sister? Bring them all. Bring it. If I'm taking you, I'm taking them all." No. If you got taken, you got taken. If your family was there, your family was there. So that's why he says, and whereupon they set their minds, their sons and their daughters, the ones you're thinking about over there, in the day when I destroy all of that, it says here that he that escapeth in that day shall come on to thee to cause thee to hear it with thine ears. So the proof is going to be that the captives that are brought, the ones that survived this destruction, that are brought into Babylon, they're going to tell you what happened with their own mouth openly. They're going to tell you, hey, this is what was going on. This is what they did, yada, yada, yada. So the Lord is telling Ezekiel, when I do this, yeah, you're going to hear it. And they're all going to believe. They're going to see, damn, all the things he was telling us, guess what? We're hearing it from the actual people who went through it. Verse 27, in that day shall thy mouth be open to him which is escaped, and thou shalt speak, and be no more dumb. And thou shalt be a sign unto them, and they shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. So when those survivors come also as captives into Babylon, you're going to speak to them. And you're going to be a sign unto all of them. Just like you've been a sign unto these captives for these past few years, where, basically you've been a prophet, right? And the things that you've done represented the things that actually took place. So now when they see all this go down, it's going to resolve that doubt in their mind. They're going to know that, yep, everything he was doing and saying was a representation of what was going to happen from the Lord. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the book of Ezekiel, the 24th chapter. Like I said before, it's a parable of the boiling pot. So the Lord is using parabolic talk to signify, Israel, Jerusalem, and what he was going to do. Anyway, with that, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.